Billy Clan members that watching 40 Days of Fashions, tuning in from day to day, wondering what Billy doing next. Fashion money stacks and stacks. Go get y'all a go y'all bag. It's the fourth day, the fourth day, the fourth day, the fourth day. Yes, guys, so today I'm going to be showing y'all how to create buttons and buttonholes using my brother, SM370. Please make sure that y'all like, comment, share, and subscribe, and let's get into it. So some things you're going to need for your sewing machine today is, if you have one, depending on the sewing machine you have, you're going to need this little piece. And this right here will help you make your button. Well, your buttonhole. Some of them, they have the ones where you can make your button as well. It just depends on what type of sewing machine you have. But mine, I have to do it by hand, the button parts. So what I did was, I just took this little part right here that goes up and down, and just put a button in the size of your buttonhole that you want it to be. Alright, so we want to take our button, put it in that part, and it's kind of a little difficult to keep. Alright, there you go. We're going to put it in like that. And it should look like that. And then you're going to take that metal part and you're going to replace your foot. So you're going to take out the regular sewing foot and you're going to put this foot in. But it has to be facing the back. So mine is labeled like with the letter A. So the A needs to be upright. I went ahead and changed the program settings on my sewing machine. I changed the stitch tension and stitch length a little bit. I went ahead and added my buttonhole foot. Now I'm going to show y'all, and I also threaded my machine. So this is what I'm going to be using to demonstrate for y'all. It's like the same fabric I've been doing for the past couple days. I made my markings on it, as you can see, and it's going to be about maybe an inch, the buttonhole. It's going to be maybe an inch. With those two buttonholes, we're going to attach these buttons afterwards. So I have a blue sew-through button, has two holes, and there's this little gold star shank button. Depending on the type of button you use depends on what you're making. So if you want to make something more high scale, high quality, you'll use a shank button. If you want to make something more casual, then you'll use a sew-through button. We see a lot of the sew-through buttons. And also, not even only for like tailored garments and stuff, you can also use shank buttons for like your jackets and things like that. Another thing, I went ahead and interfaced with fusible interfacing this side. So you see one side is like the pattern still shown and the other one is kind of like covered. That's the interfaced one. And you need that for extra support. So my machine is going to sew through these all three of these layers, the interfacing, the first layer of this fabric, and the other part that we have marked. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our buttons on like the inside of it to make it kind of look like a book for me to show y'all. It's going to be real cutesy. Here is what my buttonholes look like before we go ahead and snip them in the middle. Now, one thing you want to make sure when you're doing these buttonholes and when you're snipping them in the middle is that they have enough space in between. On one of mine, there wasn't enough space, so I know that it might be a little problem when I do that. Also, for your sewing machine, the way buttonholes are made, I forgot to mention, like if you're like new to sewing machines and everything, but when you're stitching buttonholes, you start closest to you and then it goes backwards. Normally when you're sewing, it goes forward, but you'll be moving it backwards. Next, we're going to go ahead and snip the spaces in the middle to open up for the buttons. I redid my second buttonhole that was too close. I changed the stitch length a little bit and now I can put my scissors in. So what you do is you're going to take where your buttonhole is and then you're going to fold it in half. Fold that buttonhole in half, and then you're going to take your fabric shears and you're going to cut right in the middle of it through all the layers. So in the middle of both of the little squiggles. There's a little slash for you to slide your scissors through. This is me just feeling to see if I can put mine in. Then you're just going to take one of the sides and put it in the hole you just made. Let's see. And then snip until the tacks. You don't want to go past that because of course it's going to make the buttonhole come loose. and it's not going to be functional anymore. So now we have little buttonholes. We can put our little fingers in there, put our fingers in the other one. Alright? I'm going to stitch on the buttons. When it comes to marking your buttons, you need to make sure that they match where the buttonholes are. So I'm going to fold my fabric sample in half like this, and then I'm going to find the middle of my open button, and I'm just going to take my fabric marker and just put a dot in through the other side. And we're going to stitch on our buttons. This requires hand sewing needle and thread. Have mine already done. And I'm going to go ahead and go with the sew through button first. So I'm going to line up the button. I'm going to line up the holes where the point is, what I just made. Go in through the back. And this doesn't have to be perfect. Like this comes with practice. And then just put in through one hole, go over the top, and do it through the other one. But also make sure you're doing this loosely, or you can put something underneath, because you're going to go and make a tack underneath. See, with shank buttons, they already have its own shank, but we're going to make one with the thread for our sew through button. So I've decided that this was enough layers or enough passes, and it's going to be secure. To test its wobbliness, to make sure that you have enough space, you could just like pluck it, just wiggle it a little bit. And then what we're going to do is just fold this piece down, and then pull up the thread from the back. Not through any of the holes, just like on the other side where the button is. Then you're going to take your thread and just wrap it around. And you see the space. Now we've made our thread shank. Then you can put it back through this other side as if we were going back down. And then you're going to just tie it off. Here's our button that got attached. See? So cute. Just like that. And that's our button. Let's do the shank button. Alright, so it's going to be the same thing with our other sew through button. But instead of doing the last part we did where we made our thread shank, since it already has one like I mentioned, we just need to pass it through a few times to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And we're going to just sew through the hole. Here's our completely sewn shank button. It has this little shank right there that we use to sew through. This one was easier to do than the 2-hole one, but the 2-hole button is much easier than the 4-hole one. It's just a matter of making sure that the threads overlap correctly within the same each pass, like with each pass, because they get to looking lopsided and crooked and cockeyed, and it's like, what happened to my button? Like, what happened to my thread? And we don't want that. Okay. And here is our finished look. That's the end of our video, our little tutorial for buttons and buttonholes. It's all about learning your sewing machine when it comes to doing these buttons. Some sewing machines, you could do the automatic buttonhole, and it just do, like, you just put the buttonhole foot onto the sewing machine, change the settings to stitch tension to stitch length, and you turn the little hand wheel to the buttonhole setting, and then you just start stitching. You'll go from front to back. When I'm talking about front to back, I'm referring to the direction of the needle, because of course the fabric, when you're sewing, the fabric is going to go from front to the back of the machine as you stitch, depending on how long the line is that you're stitching, but either way, it's still going from front to back. And it's the same thing with when you're doing stitching, when you're making buttonholes. So I would say for beginners, it's probably a 5. I know for me, when I first started using my brother machine, it was harder for me to do it because I was still learning how to use my machine and everything. But once I got the hang of it, I knew what stitch settings to put and how to maneuver the buttonholes, because it was a little tricky the first time. And it was also my first time doing buttons as, like, in general. So I was just proud of myself for that. It just be the little things, you know. It be the little things, like on some LMA stuff, like it be the little things. And depending on what you make, this can make or break your whole garment. So if you don't get this right, if the buttons are crooked or they not all aligned the same way. If your buttonholes are loose, that's going to be an issue, especially when you're going in to snip them. Because if you go in and snip something and you stitch to those, you snip to those little tabs, then it's going to unravel if the thread is too loose. And if it's too tight, it's going to cause that pulling effect. It has to be just right in the middle, and that requires you to play with your settings on your machine to come up with that. And you, like, do like me and take some notes on, like, okay, this is the length that needs to go for this one. This is the stitch tension I need to do for that, and then you put like what that's for. Okay, but every machine is different. Play with your machine, experiment with machines, and it'll become easier as you go. When it comes to sewing, never give up because you mess up the first time. We all mess up the first time. Okay, we all mess up. Just take it one day at a time, one skill at a time. If you threading the machine, that's you're starting. After that, if you're able to do a regular lock stitch, you're starting. Okay, so it's okay. It's just something that just takes some time to do. And I really hope y'all enjoyed this video and that it was very informative for you all. And thank y'all for coming back for day 4. Also, make sure y'all spin the block and come back for day 5. Okay? Big time.